What was so thrilling about the game against Newcastle on Sunday afternoon was just how much fight there is in this West Ham side. A fighting spirit that many of us thought simply didn't exist. Certainly not this season anyway. When the team selection is spot on and when every player knows their job and being played in the right position, more or less, then it makes the whole thing fall into place so much easier. And after the recent criticism that Nuno and the players have received, especially in the last two games against Brentford and Leeds United, we have to give both Nuno and the team credit for coming back so strong against Newcastle. Many are saying that this was a poor performance by Newcastle itself. But let's face it, apart from the win against Nottingham Forest and the decent away point that we got at Everton, West Ham haven't exactly been flying so far themselves. So the win against Newcastle was soaked in relief, celebration, and frankly, a bit of overall overdue joy. West Ham United 3, Newcastle United 1 at the London Stadium, a comeback, a first home win in God knows how many months, and Nuno's first victory in charge. But what got us that win? It's always great to look back after a game and reflect on what went so well or not so well when we lose. And that's what I'm going to focus on in this video today. Everything from the goalkeeper performance, the defensive shape that clicked, the midfield balance with Freddie Potts, the forward work from Callum Wilson, and the clever and timely substitutions all played a part in this win. Now, before I do that, if you're new to the West Ham Voice, or if you've watched the channel before but yet to subscribe, the QR code in the top corner there allows you to subscribe to the channel, takes you straight to the subscription link. So please do consider subscribing. It costs nothing to subscribe to the channel. But if you don't want to do that, that's absolutely fine. At the very least, at the end of the video, please do hit the like button. There's also a button called Hype. You can click on that, which elevates the video for other viewers on YouTube to watch. And if you're feeling generous after all that, you can become a member of the West Ham Voice. Membership is $1.99 a month. You get extra content, small videos, 5-minute videos about the club, etc. And all the money raised by through membership goes to Prostate Cancer UK. And to date, we've raised £300. So thank you so much for that. Right. Just a quick recap before I go into the fine detail. After a decent start where Jared Bowen smashed the ball against the woodwork, Newcastle hit us on the counter-attack, and within about half a minute, Jacob Murphy shocked us with a 4th-minute opener. Now, Lucas Paqueta levelled with a beautifully placed shot from distance, and then Sven Botman put one past his own keeper from an Aaron Wan-Bissaka centre before half-time. Then, as we conceded more and more possession throughout the game, without Newcastle really hurting us, Thomas Souček wrapped it up deep into stoppage time to make it 3-1. Nuno's men turned a nervy start into a controlled, ultimately dominant finish, a proper team performance for once. But the game didn't go without incident. We had what looked to be a perfectly decent shout for a penalty, but after the ref gave it, VAR suggested that he take a closer look, and the penalty was not given. I guess you could say there was a marginal touch by the defender on the ball first. I guess that's fine. Then we had what looked to be Freddie Potts' first senior goal, but that was disallowed because of a matter of Thomas Souček's big toe being offside. But he wasn't interfering with play, so I still don't get the whole offside rule. I thought if you weren't interfering with play, then the goal should stand. But anyway, let's move on and analyse the game, starting from the back to the front. And the first player we've got to talk about is Alphonse Areola. Now, he's had his fair share of critics over the recent past, but no one can deny that he looked far more assured in his 18-yard box. I can't remember the last time Areola came off his line to punch the ball away, but he did it with so much confidence as well. He stood out, really, Areola, for his command of the box, clean claims from crosses, and the kind of decisiveness that stops second phase pressure. Newcastle had plenty of possession, but we rarely saw them threaten from set pieces. Areola organised his area and rarely left his defenders guessing as to what should be done. His distribution still leaves a lot to be desired, but it was good to see his confidence back in the 18-yard box. Now, it's worth flagging that the recent arrival of coach Rui Barbosa, who worked with Nuno at Nottingham Forest, may have had something to do with the change in Areola's approach. Now, coaches at that level don't reinvent goalkeepers overnight, but it's the subtleties that matter. Positioning tweaks on set pieces, assertiveness in coming for crosses, and timing when to claim the ball. Now, we saw a calmer Alphonse Areola, more proactive communicating, a quicker off his line for 50-50 balls, and better angles when dealing with crosses or loose deliveries into the box. Now, whether it's a single training session or a theme Barbosa has started to reinforce, the net effect was a keeper who felt in control of his 18-yard box, gave his backline confidence to push and concentrate on their roles without having to babysit the goalkeeper. Then we move on to the centre-back pairing, who have rightly been criticised for their awful defending throughout the whole of this season. And last season as well, I guess. Nuno's decision to place Max Kilman on the right of a centre pair and Jean-Claire Todibo on the left of a centre pair looked to be yet another crazy decision by the Portuguese manager, but it proved clever for three specific reasons. Firstly, with regards to Kilman, his reading of the game and strength in winning midfield passes made him reliable when the ball came into his half. Whilst when it came to Todibo, his smoother ball progression and comfort carrying the ball out from the back on the left side gave him the ability to pass the ball out of defence, feeding the ball to the likes of Diouf and Somerville on that side. And the balance looked to be really good. They actually, ironically, both defenders, for all the criticisms that they received, seemed to be better suited playing on the reverse side of what they normally play. Clever move by Nuno. Secondly, Newcastle tried to overload the channels, but Kilman's positioning neutralised diagonal runs into the box from the right. And thirdly, with Areola confidently commanding his box, Kilman and Todibo could focus on positioning and interceptions rather than hectic last-ditch blocks. Now, that subtle stability reduced sloppy clearances, which we've seen many a time throughout the season, and gave the midfield a platform to receive the ball and keep possession and carry it forward. We've got to mention another defender who I thought had an excellent game, and that was Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It was a classic dual role, a classic fullback display. Defensively, he was disciplined, rarely beaten in a one-to-one, and smart in his positional work to cut off Newcastle's inside channels. Offensively, he timed his overlaps really well and served dangerous crosses into the box, which, as we saw, proved to be decisive. On one of the defining moments was his low centre that forced Sven Botman to intercept a low cross, only for it to wrong foot Nick Pope, and the ball was diverted into Newcastle's goal. That's exactly the type of transitional play Wan-Bissaka offers, and something that we've not seen for quite a while. And it was good to see Wan-Bissaka moving freely on that right-hand side and working well, as he's always done, with Jared Bowen. And we move into midfield. Freddie Potts was absolutely outstanding, disciplined, energetic, and tactically intelligent. He offered three distinct but interconnecting contributions. He shielded the ball for the back four. Potts read the danger, filled the gaps at the right moments, breaking Newcastle's rhythm, before it turned into clear-cut chances. So shielding the back four was one of the biggest things that we've not had for quite some time. Secondly, he delivered tidy short passes to reset play and connect with Fernandes and Paqueta, ensuring West Ham didn't lose possession in dangerous areas. And then thirdly, he stuck to his role when the match opened up, allowing more creative teammates to play with freedom. So that's a pivot that we just haven't had throughout the whole season. That combination, defensive solidity, efficient ball retention, and a consistent tactical presence, is exactly why he earned man of the match. He's the kind of player whose impact multiplies across the whole team. With Potts providing that discipline in midfield, Matheus Fernandes and Lucas Paqueta were free to roam, to press, and to take risks in possession. Now, Paqueta's long-range equaliser is a good example. He could step up and shoot because Potts had the defensive channels covered. Fernandes benefited similarly. He could carry the ball, drift into wider pockets, and take the ball into more advanced areas without fear of the immediate counter. Now, that triangle, Potts anchoring, Fernandes and Paqueta advancing, created a balance in midfield that, again, we've not seen for an awful long time. When one of the two pushed forward, the other could slot behind Potts to keep the structure intact, and that would relatively be Fernandes. Potts' work rate was immense, and we can start to ask the legitimate question on whether we have finally found a decent replacement for Declan Rice, who left 2 years ago. Early days, but if Potts continues in this vein of form, we've finally unearthed another gem from our academy. And then a shout out has got to go to Callum Wilson. Again, another player much maligned. He offered us a classic focal point up front, smart with his back to goal, willing to hold the ball up and link with the midfield runners. Now, although he wasn't on the score sheet, his off-field movement dragged defenders out of position and created channels for Paqueta, Fernandes, Bowen and Somerville to exploit. He worked tirelessly and relentlessly, pressing the centre-backs, dropping to receive, and then feeding the runners, making late runs into the box himself. That kind of selfless forward play is crucial in games like this. Goals stem from chaos and movement rather than static patterns that we've been seeing throughout the season up to now. And Wilson's contribution was central to creating that chaos. It felt like Nuno finally has found the 11 that fits his blueprint, a defence that balances pace and possession, a midfield with a real anchor and two creators, and a forward line mixing hold-up play and movement. The subs were also effective. They didn't disrupt the rhythm that was already there, and crucially, offered energy when needed. Thomas Souček, his sub-appearance on 60 minutes to replace Callum Wilson up front, was a perfect example of that. Souček, again, another player that some fans love, some fans hate, but he's a big game professional who pops up at key moments to finish the job and provide the security blanket that we need. He was never going to do the work that Wilson was doing up front, but he was lying deeper, which helped to fill the midfield, especially when Newcastle were having more and more possession. But Souček's instincts as a pro helped him to get into the box when we were on the attack, and he got his reward with a late third goal. Now, we've got to give credit to Nuno. The manager's choice, or the choices of team selection and substitutions, showed clarity for a change. Bringing on players to shore up leads without involving or inviting panic, and introducing legs that could exploit tiring Newcastle defenders. That strategic clarity is what earned him and West Ham The first win this season, or second win, sorry, this season, first win at home. To be honest, this was more than just 3 points. It was a signal. When structure needs meets intent, a goalkeeper commanding the box, a balanced centre-back partnership, a disciplined defensive midfielder, and a creative freedom for the attacking players, what Nuno and the team did against Newcastle was to show that we have the players who can control difficult matches and finish them professionally. I haven't mentioned other players. Somerville played well. Bowen does what Bowen always does. Diouf played well. You know, the whole 11 played exceptionally well. And all the players that came on to replace them, Carl Walker-Peters, yes, people are going to say he was played out of position, but Walker-Peters playing on the left in midfield looked fine because he's comfortable. He's a versatile enough player to do that. Souček up front, yeah, you could argue, you know, another round hole trying to fit into a square box or the other way around, whatever it is. But even he did a job and he did it well. All the players did well, the players that started and the players that finished the game. What I'm hoping now is that Nuno doesn't tinker too much with the lineup or the tactics that he used in this game against Newcastle, because we've got winnable games coming up. There's one more game before the next international break against Burnley at home again. If we can get that 3 points in that game, 2 wins on the trot with the same kind of setup, the same kind of tactics, etc., then Nuno could be onto winning ways. Okay, there are going to be teams that are going to suss him out and try and exploit what he's put together. But that's when Nuno can be clever and tinker where needed rather than making the wholesale changes that he did against Brentford and Leeds United, which lost us the games. Look, it's massive relief for West Ham, massive relief for the fans, massive relief for everybody involved at the club that we won this game on Sunday. We really needed it. But what was also really good was that it wasn't just a win, but it was also a really, really decent performance.